say, and you probably have heard this before, that education, including skills, are India's greatest challenge and potentially India's greatest opportunity. You will have to continue radically altering the landscape that confronts us today. When the Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, launched the National Knowledge Commission in 2005, and I was honored to be a member of the National Knowledge Commission, he wanted us to create a blueprint for a new wave of institution building and a blueprint for reform, as well try and figure out how India can become the global knowledge hub by 2030. The National Knowledge Commission's report focused on 3 areas: expansion, equity, and excellence. And I'm delighted that the Planning Commission made these the 3 pillars, and we have Mr. Pawan Agrawal, who helped draft these recommendations in the Planning Commission. But the Planning Commission adopted precisely these three pillars as the central thrust of its education strategy in the 12th plan: expansion, equity, and excellence. And all 3 pillars, to be objective, have been strengthened by a variety of policy measures undertaken by the government over the last 7-8 years. But with due respect, not enough has been done. We all know that there are 12 important bills in Parliament which have unfortunately been stalled because of the impasse that has existed over the last couple of years. And if these had indeed been passed, you would have got rid of the only important area in the Indian economy which is still besieged by a license and permit raj. It's the only autarkic, outdated area of the Indian economy, the higher education and skill sector. But the bulk of the public sector universities, particularly the state universities, are overregulated and badly governed. Whether it's in terms of fees, you have no freedom to raise fees. Whether it is in terms of hiring good faculty, you have no freedom to hire faculty other than at a pay scale recommended and enforced by the University Grants Commission. Whether it is in terms of trying to translate your fungible assets into raising infrastructure, whether it is in terms of being rewarded for good performance. Unfortunately, Indian state universities are in a deep mess, in a deep crisis, and I would like to hear otherwise. I know that some of the bills would have addressed the way Indian universities are governed, and indeed the National Knowledge Commission had a blueprint about the way in which you needed to create an independent regulatory authority. But what you have had, because all these bills have been stalled, you have had a kind of short-term, not very well thought out scheme called RUSA, which is a higher education authority. Unfortunately, I mean, we can debate this, which on paper provides incentives for funding to state universities. In reality, the way in which RUSA is being operationalized within states, it leaves much, much to be desired. So the first task for the new government, really, if they want to alter the landscape of Indian higher education and translate the promise of becoming a global knowledge hub into reality, is to reform existing public sector universities. You cannot move beyond that. The second is the governance of the private and regulation of the private sector. And I'll move to the international part later, but no government of India can even imagine or should think that they can actually raise the gross enrollment ratio beyond 20% unless they provide a decent framework for regulation of the private sector. As it is, contrary to most assumptions, more than 50% of our tertiary sector is in the private sector. But it's a badly governed sector where there are no incentives for quality. And most of the time, you have this sector, and there are exceptions, run by fly-by-night operators. The third is really research and innovation. Research and innovation in India, again, is in crisis. The number of PhDs, the quality of PhDs, the quality of research and innovation in universities is in dire straits. You need to not just improve the quality of PhDs, provide real incentives for research and innovation, perhaps create universities which are only devoted to research, and there is a research and innovation bill, but that again is stalled in Parliament. If you look at any global parameter, forget the fact that there are only a few Indian universities, if any, in any of the main ranking systems, but in terms of research and innovation, India is towards the bottom of the table. How can you have a higher education system which does not provide real incentives for research and innovation? Fourthly, and I know that in the National Knowledge Commission we played emphasis on it, and this is something that has been worked upon, which is using technology. And there is a national knowledge network which connects laboratories, which allows a free flow of information across universities, but much, much more could be used. But technology, particularly through MOOCs, massive online open courses, much more work could have been done in these years to ensure that at least through distance and open learning systems, which again are completely obsolete, could have benefited from the latest advances, not just in technology, but in the way of this technology is delivered. And finally, sir, internationalization. Internationalization is a kind of buzzword today. Everyone talks about internationalization. But internationalization is not about signing MOUs. It's not even about having conferences like this. It's about immersing yourself in a global culture, recognizing that there are best practices, best models of governance, that there are real benefits from faculty exchanges, student mobility programs, collaboration in research projects, and all this is possible today. So I think that tomorrow the most important challenge is going to be the challenge of internationalization. Today, give you examples. Faculty members cannot easily spend time abroad. Students won't get credits in most universities. There are exceptions again. If a Delhi University student decided to do a course in Melbourne, he won't get any credits for it. And all this is stifled because there are centralized regulatory systems which don't allow universities the freedom and autonomy to decide what is best for them. And let me say, and in conclusion, to flag off Australia as a role model, most Indians and most Indian education service providers have looked at North America or Europe, and particularly the United Kingdom, for a variety of reasons. Australia has 39 public universities. At least 10 of them rank amongst the first 100 or 200 in the world. It has a culture of research, produces some of the finest innovation, and in terms of actual out-of-the-box thinking on a variety of areas, Australia, and particularly Victoria, which has 9 universities and which offers in a variety of fields opportunities for Indian students. No other state in Australia, no other state anywhere in the world offers dedicated PhD scholarships for Indian students. This is our biggest challenge. There is no other internal or external challenge greater than the challenge of producing socially responsible, globally competitive Indian citizens of the future. Otherwise, our demographic dividend, I'm afraid, will become our demographic nightmare. Thank you very much.